Hey everybody. Supreme Court's been doing a lot of stuff lately, giving states rights, states, taking away power from the federal government, giving it to the states like they did with Roe versus Wade, striking down unconst- all kinds of stuff when it comes to the Second Amendment, and giving the people more power over their guns. Man, actually interpreting stuff through the Constitution based off of the historical precedents and originality and all that kind of stuff. So, one thing we can all assume is that the Supreme Court is stirring up. It's stirring up debate. It's stirring up the crazies on the left. See, the leftists are they're going wild because they apparently don't know the Constitution. Or they just don't like it. They want, I guess, to interpret, they want the Constitution to be interpreted from a modern day perspective and viewpoint instead of using what we already have as historical precedents and laws and whatnot that are already existing to determine what it is. They don't want to. They don't want to look at the facts. They want to look at feelings. We do know, we can all agree that the Supreme Court in history and stuff has dropped the ball. They have dropped the ball. They have interpreted things wrongly in the past and they've messed up. And for a while there, the Supreme Court was basically, it was becoming the like third branch of government that just sits around and doesn't do nothing. Well, lately, we've got some Supreme Court justices with some actual balls who actually want to do some stuff and actually want to use their power, their constitutional power, to actually start checking and balancing the other two branches, which is their job, of course. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. We have a system in power for checks and balances. We have let the executive branch and legislative branch get too powerful. And they no longer been checking each other. We have let them get so powerful, and the Supreme Court's just been sitting in the sidelines. And the legislative branch has become tyrannical. The executive branch has become tyrannical. Both sides have gotten too powerful. That now that they're stirring up, now that the Supreme Court is actually stirring up some stuff, starting some shit, the leftists are going crazy. It only proves that they don't really care about our Constitution, that they really want socialism and communism. They don't care about our Constitution. I mean, the libertarians are more in agreement with the Supreme Court right now. The Republicans, of course, are in agreement with the Supreme Court because this is kind of the stuff they've been hoping for a while now. But not even all the Republicans are in agreement with some of the stuff the Supreme Courts are doing right now. The constitutionalists, of course, especially since a lot of the stuff that's coming out from the Supreme Court is stuff the constitutionalists want. So, yeah. and some good stuff. I'm glad that the Supreme Court is actually finally doing some stuff. I'm probably not going to agree with everything they do because I don't think they're going doing enough. Is what I would suggest. Is my opinion. And I like that they're giving states' rights back to the people. I like that. I like that they're interpreting the Constitution from originality and historical precedents. I'm liking that. I just don't think they're doing enough. I think they need to do more. I like that they're starting to take cases left and right and how they used to, just sit in the sidelines and not doing. They're even overriding Supreme Court cases from the past, which some people would say they shouldn't be doing that. They already. No, they can do that. Supreme Court not only can check and balance the legislative branch, the executive branch, but their own branches as well. That's their job, check and balance. So, of course, the Supreme Court, when they come into power, should look at old cases and review them and decide, wait a minute, maybe the Supreme Court back then messed up and we should do it right this time. Of course, the Supreme Court should look at every single law that the legislative branch makes and go, wait a minute, let's see if that law lines up with the Constitution. Of course, the Supreme Court should go after every executive order the president makes and go, hey, wait a minute, let's see if that lines up with the Constitution. Because both the legislative and executive members, the presidency, the Congress, Senate, they all take an oath of office to uphold, defend, and support the Constitution of the United States of America. Even Supreme Court justices take that oath. So it's their job, essentially, to make sure that they obey the Constitution. So it's the legislative's job to check and balance the presidency. It's when they think the presidency isn't doing something constitutional. It's the legislature's job to check and balance even the Supreme Court when they think, of course, there's not something that they're doing something constitutional. It's the executive's job through, of course, the veto power, and the legislative can override the said veto, to check and balance when the legislative does something that they don't think is necessarily constitutional. It's also the executive's job to check and balance the court system when they don't think the courts are doing something that is constitutional. So it all comes basically down to the Constitution and checks and balances. All three branches need to check and balance each other constantly. Constantly. We've had not enough checks on the presidency. And the executive branch has gotten too powerful because of it. The Supreme Court hasn't done enough checking and balances on the legislative or the executive branch and has gotten too weak. And now that they are showing some show of force and actually doing something, it's stirring up the legislative and executive body. The legislative hasn't really been checked by the president that much. The veto power hasn't hardly ever been used. It's not used enough, in my opinion. So they've gotten so powerful because hardly anybody vetoes anymore. The executive branch has gotten too powerful because no one's been checking and balancing, checking them on their executive orders. The legislative branch has gotten too powerful because, well, laws just don't get vetoed enough. I mean, really, the power of the veto should be constantly being used. It's just one of the major powers that the presidency has that should be doing? A lot. I mean, a lot. So those two powers haven't had enough checks and balances against them. But now we got the Supreme Court coming in and actually doing some checks and balances, which is their job. They're trying to, you know, it's clearly put out in our Constitution what powers each branch has and that they're supposed to check and balance the other branches. The Supreme Court is supposed to have powers to check and balance the legislative branch, which would be to decide if a law is constitutional or not, and the executive branch, which would be to decide if a executive order is constitutional or not. The legislative branch is supposed to be able to check and balance the Supreme Court by confirming judges and justices and confirming if cases are relevant to be tried in the Supreme Court. And I believe also, just like they can override a veto, I believe they can override a Supreme Court decision too, the same way they can override a veto. But, you know, so if they could get 2/3 majority, I mean, they could get 2/3 majority, I think, right? They can override a veto. So if they can get like, or maybe it's 3/5 or something, it's 2/3 and 3/5 or something. Anyway, so they could potentially override a Supreme Court decision. Now, again, I already talked about how the president is supposed to be using the veto. It's this power given to the president that should be being used. Congress and the Supreme Court are also supposed to be, making sure executive orders are correct. So, again, all this checks and balancing stuff is supposed to be happening. It's standard fare for the government. This is what our founding fathers wanted. Even one of our founding fathers said that, made a statement that every 20 years we should reevaluate the whole entire government. Literally the whole entire government system. Now, that's crazy talk, but it actually lets you know. Some people use that to put in the context that, okay, we should have an evolving constitution or an evolving type of government. I put it into the context of this. We need to reevaluate our government every 20 years because it needs to be an evaluation to prevent tyranny. Whenever one branch of government has gotten too powerful that they no longer fight each other or they no longer check and balance each other, we have created a system of tyranny. The legislative has created departments which, instead of making the laws themselves, they've created agencies and departments that now make and create their own laws, which was never intended in the Constitution at all. We have executives who have started creating executive orders. Which executive orders are mainly was mainly supposed to be a wartime power. It's been used in peacetime. And also, executive orders are supposed to be like mandates. They're supposed to be temporarily. Anything that lasts over 30 days is not a temporary thing. So these executive orders have gotten too powerful. And now we have a Supreme Court with some gumption, with some right or wrong, they're doing stuff. They have some actual gumption. They're looking at old cases from past Supreme Court decisions and saying, hey, that was wrong. Which is actually what should be going on. Like, literally, every time we get a new legislative branch, is they should, instead of deciding to create new laws, they should be reviewing the old laws and deciding which ones need to be kicked out. Well, that's pretty much what the Supreme Court's doing. We got enough new legislative members, a majority. I think 4 or 5 new ones came in recent history. Actually, I believe 4 under Trump and at least 1 under Obama, and actually 1 under our current administration too, I believe. Just about because then Ruth Ginsburg, she passed recently, right? Uh, well, actually, hers got. Oh yeah, that would have been under Trump too. Never mind. But still, the thing is, what I'm saying is that most of our Supreme Court justices, we just got like 5. We got 4 or 5 of them in a row, and there's only 9. So a majority of them just got in office like recently, not been in there that long. So yeah, whenever something like that happens, yeah, they should reevaluate the past cases. Whenever a new legislative body comes in office, which happens every 2 years, by the way, yeah, they should reevaluate past decisions. Whenever a new presidency comes in office, you know what the first thing they do is? They appoint new people to in new positions in their different cabinets and their different administrations. Sometimes presidents decide they no longer need an administration or a agency or whatnot. That's part of their power that they have. That they can abolish some of these various different agencies if they feel like they don't need them anymore. They get to appoint who's in charge of them. Personally, I don't think anybody should be in charge of a agency or a department or a organization within the government that's not elected. I mean, we shouldn't be appointing people in charge of agencies, departments, organizations, or or of that nature. These people should be elected. We elect a president, which is an executive leader. Why aren't all other executive leader agencies elected? We elect the legislative body. We only the only position we don't elect is the Supreme Court, uh, which is mainly because they're supposed to be biased. If they were elected, well, if they were elected, they would be biased. They're biased anyway because it's impossible to be unbiased. Uh, because everybody has their own ideas, opinions, ways they were raised, grown up, etc. It's impossible to be not biased. Everybody's somewhat biased because it's just that's just how everybody is. But that was part of the reason why they're not elected. They wanted the Supreme Court to focus on the constitutionality of and legality of what the legislative and executive does and the states do and the people and the politicians all do. They didn't want them to focus on a political party one way or the other, and they didn't want them to be basically tainted by lobbyists and special interest groups and that matter, and that's why they're not elected. But all the other jobs within government in administrative roles probably should be elected and not just appointed, because appointing them gives the legislative and executive departments, which are the ones that do that appointing, too much power, in my opinion. And too much power means bigger government, and bigger government is bad. Bigger government means less power to the people. More democracy, more representative democracy, which is what our country is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a constitutional republic, which is a representative democracy. Uh, so, if we're going to create a new agency or department or whatever, should not the people decide whether first the people should decide whether they want it, whether we need that new department or agency in the first place? Because the whole reason we have Congress is to, try to make laws. So if we're going to create a department or agency, and then they're going to be in charge of that area of government or area of the nation or area of the country, then shouldn't the people decide if we need someone to do that? Because technically that's already Congress's job. So Congress has the job of doing everything, but then they decide, oh, let's just create a new agency or department or branch, which is like a minor branch of the legislative branch, but the executive branch gets to appoint the head of that branch or something of that nature. They're like, so shouldn't we do that? But I mean, seriously, creating all these different branches or areas or departments or whatever, agencies and whatnot, are extending the power of the legislative branch, right? Which is tyranny, right? It's getting too big. Aren't these legislators being lazy? I mean, it's like they're trying to pass the buck of their job onto this other department, which is run by unelected and appointed officials. So, first of all, the people should get to decide whether we need this new department. And then the legislative goes, okay, let's make it. Second of all, after they make it, or if it's already in power, shouldn't their leadership, be elected instead of appointed? Just like, the legislative members are elected by the people, just like the presidency is elected by the people. So, more elections, less elections, more power to the people, less appointments, power to the politicians. Anyway, so the Supreme Court's actually doing stuff, and it's stirring up heads, which I like. I mean, it's a good thing. Supreme Court's been sitting on the sidelines way too much. Way too much. Now they're doing stuff. The legislative branch has gotten way too powerful. The executive branch has gotten way too powerful. Both of those branches have gotten so powerful that they kind of pushed the Supreme Court to the side. Now the Supreme Court's coming in, and they're like, yeah. And no offense, but did you expect, if the people expected the Supreme Court to just stay the way it was after pretty much putting in 5 or 6 new justices in a row in like a very short time period. If they expected that, ooh, me. That's just hilarious that they expected new people that just got possibly the most highest and powerful position in the government to you really expected them to just stay the way the Supreme Court was when you appointed brand new fresh blood, so to speak, over which is over half of the new Supreme Court is fresh blood. There's only 9 members, meaning, and we've added like 5 or 6 recently. 4 of them from Trump. Think about that. It wouldn't have mattered who was president because, well, 4 would have still been appointed, even if Hillary Clinton had won. Even if Hillary Clinton had won, 4 justices would have passed on during her administration. Okay? That's 4 justices dying in a short span of 4 years. And one before that. Because Obama appointed at least. Obama had this chance to. Had this time when he appointed at least one or so. So basically, yeah. So what I'm getting at is she would have appointed 4 new ones. Now, that being said, they would have been more lefty, probably, and that would have given the Supreme Court like almost a complete leftist majority, and almost like there would have been way a bunch of lefties on there, and yeah, you think you want to know what would have happened if there was a bunch of fresh new blood that were lefties? Well, they would be passing all kinds of Supreme Court stuff that was like, oh man, they would be passing so much Supreme Court stuff regarding that would favor what the leftists want to think I think in the Constitution. So thank God that didn't happen. Anyway, that's my take on the Supreme Court right now. The Supreme Court is getting they're stirring some heads, and people who think they're being evil by doing this don't really understand the Constitution. They really don't understand what the Supreme Court's supposed to be doing. They don't. They seriously just do not understand the Supreme Court. And it might have something to do with the fact the Supreme Court hasn't been doing anything for a long time. And now that they just started doing stuff back to back to back to back, accepting cases, accepting cases, accepting cases, accepting cases, giving more power over regarding this right or that right, and even going back and looking at old cases that they already had, and going, wait a minute, we messed up here. Just the fact that all that is going down. Yeah, of course, they're stirring up trouble. But trouble's a good thing because it opens up dialogue, debate. It's opening up dialogue and debate, which are good things. It's giving more power to the people because it's opening up dialogue and debate. It's giving more power to the people because it's Politicians are not going to just be able to go, I'm for blah, and win because of that. Not anymore. Politicians are going to have better platforms so that the people will vote for them. They won't be able to just vote and say, I'm a Republican. They won't be able to just go, I'm a Democrat anymore. They're going to have to come up with better platforms to actually run for office so that they can get their constituents. Because the constituents, the actual people, they aren't one issue voters. So we don't need any more one issue politicians. There's a whole spectrum of political ideologies, beliefs, and whatnot's going around. There are people who are, they think this is okay while that's not. Even though the majority of this group goes, would kick them out for that one other belief, and so on and so forth. So, yeah. Let's go to the Supreme Court. Stirring up heads. With all those checks and balances that are going on. Anytime somebody new gets in power, they pretty much have to start doing stuff. And it's a shame that there are people out there, including politicians. So far, I've only heard from the left side that are saying that Supreme Court, that are basically essentially threatening Supreme Court justices. They're threatening Supreme Court justices. Do you know what would happen if you threatened the President of the United States of America? You know what would happen if you threatened other members of Congress? That's what the Secret Service is for, to protect you. So, you're, by threatening them and encouraging people to do potential harm to Supreme Court justices, one could make an argument that you're inciting a riot, you're trying to incite an insurrectionist. Oh, isn't that what the leftists accused Donald Trump of doing? When in reality they seem to be doing, I don't know, the exact same thing against the Supreme Court right now. Or at least the members that didn't vote their way. One could even say that these threats are a form of committing treason, because you're wanting to what, abolish the Supreme Court, remove the Supreme Court, or remove members of the Supreme Court through force if necessary. Isn't that a form of treason? You want to basically destroy one branch of the government. Wouldn't destroying one branch of the government be treason? And I mean, seriously, the Supreme Court was like, let's abolish the legislative branch because we don't need it. Everybody would be like, that's treason. Even the presidency would be like, no, sorry, that's not right, that's treason. Come on. The Supreme Court was like, we got to get rid of the executive branch. Come on. Seriously. If one branch tried to say that we need to get rid of another branch, the other two branches would be like, no, 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 no. We have a three-branch system of the government, Constitution. Come on, what is wrong with you? That's crazy thinking. That's treasonous thinking. That's insurrectionist thinking, etc. If the president of the United States was actually like, I'm going to start having the Supreme Court members arrested, even the legislative branch would be like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Seriously, come on, think about that. If like the legislative branch was like to try to charge the president with treason, the Supreme Court would be like, wait a minute, you can only charge him with impeachment. The impeachment might consist of treason is a grounds for impeachment, but come on. And by the way, the legislative members, Congress and the House, they can be impeached. Oh, and by the way, I don't know, but I believe a Supreme Court justice could technically be impeached. But again, it's complicated. Now, if y'all liking these political rants and opinions and views, stay tuned because I'm planning on doing some more of these because they're interesting, because they're cool, and I'm liking it. I'm also probably going to start also doing more of them. But I'm also going to, do my other things like board games and toys, action figures and stuff. But the problem is, I'm kind of broke. And I've kind of done most of the games I own, and I've done most of the toys that I own to unbox already. So I'm trying to figure out something else to do. Maybe singing. Would you like to see singing videos? I could do those. That's something. Uh, anyway, remember, guys, good all the time. All the time, guys, good. Keep on gaming. Keep on collecting. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Jesus loves you. Jesus God. Jesus Lord. Jesus King. Jesus ruler. Everything. Also, I think another reason why starting to do this videos is because I actually think it's time for America to wake up. I actually think it's time for America to start having dialogue. I actually think it's time for America to start talking about stuff, to start having issues, to start being more active and involved in the political process. It's been 230, 40, it's been almost 250 years here in the United States. And during that 250 years, the people have gotten smaller, the politicians have gotten bigger, the government has gotten bigger, the branches have gotten wider, and the tyranny that is even worse than when our founding fathers fought for freedom in an insurrection and against England. I mean, if you look at the Declaration of Independence and you look at every single one of the reasons, for them seceding and going to war to fight England, every single one of them, our current government does to its people today. Every single one of them. Anyway, so think about it. So that's just been my 40-minute rant thoughts on the Supreme Court. Anyway, remember God's good all the time. All the time God's good. Jesus loves you. Jesus God. Jesus Lord. Jesus King. Jesus ruler of everything. And have a great, wonderful day.